His sacking from the Zimbabwean government by Robert Mugabe appears to have triggered a series of events that has led to Africa's longest-serving leader facing impeachment and removal from office. Emmerson Mnangagwa was fired from his job as vice president on the 6th of November, in a move many saw as paving the way for Mr. Mugabe's wife Grace to become the president's successor. But, following a military takeover of the country by the army, Mr. Mnangagwa was elected as the new leader of the ruling ZANU-PF party, an indication that Mr. Mugabe underestimated the man he ousted. He is known as the crocodile, which some say is after a group of African nationalist rebels in the early days of the fight against white majority rule. Others, meanwhile, say it stems from his power, ruthlessness and ability to survive the tough, sometimes aggressive world of African politics. The name is so established that his supporters are known as Team Lacoste, due to the brand's crocodile logo. Image protesters hold posters showing support for Emmerson Mnangagwa just 3 days ago, as Mr. Mugabe was refusing to leave office despite the army urging him to quit. Crowds of people gathered in Harare waving placards bearing Mr. Mnangagwa's picture and slogans demanding his return to office. The 75-year-old was loyal to his former boss for years, gaining a reputation for being astute, ruthless and effective. Many say Mr. Mnangagwa was one of those who helped the dictator cling to power when, at times, it seemed as if his grip might be weakening. He is most notorious for, as the country's Minister for National Security, overseeing the security services during the brutal 1983 campaign against the supporters of Mugabe rival Joshua Nkomo, which became known as the Madabel Island massacres. Between 10,000 and 20,000 Ndebele people are said to have died in Zimbabwe's southern provinces during the civil conflict, which involved the Zimbabwe Army's 5th Brigade, equipped and trained by North Korea. Image: the North Korea-trained 5th Brigade troops are alleged to have carried out the Madabel Island massacres. Mr. Mnangagwa is rumored to have amassed a sizable fortune and been involved in the development of diamond trading in Harare. The Atlantic Council, a U.S.-based policy institute, says Mr. Mnangagwa was targeted by U.S. sanctions in the early 2000s for undermining democratic development in Zimbabwe, and he was named in a United Nations investigation into exploitation of mineral resources in Congo. But some say his willingness to work with others in Zimbabwe's establishment, possibly including opposition figures, could mean the country can finally move forward after years of economic failure and political repression. In 2008, he was the election agent who helped broker the creation of a unity government that brought in opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai as prime minister, after balloting that was marked by violence and allegations of voter rigging. Image: Mr. Mnangagwa is said to have been crucial to engineering the appointment of Morgan Tsvangirai left in the 2008 government. Former UK Foreign Secretary Sir Malcolm Rifkin told Sky News the negative is he's got a lousy record. He was involved in the very serious massacres in the Madabel Island a long time ago, and his succession, if that's what happens, would be a continuation of the status quo. But a smooth succession to Mnangagwa would still be an improvement. Not only because he is 20 years younger and not suffering from senility, as Mugabe has at least part of the time, but also because he is more likely to be pragmatic. He knows the country is an economic mess. If he is going to make any prospects for success, he has to persuade the international community to help on the financial and trading side, and he's also got to show that he is willing to include the opposition, who could make an important contribution to Zimbabwe's gradual recovery. On Tuesday, hours before he was due to arrive back in his country, after which he could become the new leader, Mr. Mnangagwa said the people of Zimbabwe have spoken with one voice, and it is my appeal to President Mugabe that he should take heed of this clarion call by the people of Zimbabwe to resign, so that the country can move forward and preserve his legacy. Image: Mr. Mnangagwa attends a demonstration as Justice Minister in 2000. So, what is the background of this figure due to take over a role which for many years it appeared no one would ever be allowed to hold? Emmerson Mnangagwa was CV-born Emmerson Dambadzo Mnangagwa on the 15th of September 1942, in Zimbabwe, a mining town in the Midlands of what was then Southern Rhodesia, part of the British Empire. Parents: his father was a politically active farmer, steeped in the resistance movement against white farmers, according to the New York Times. Early education: his family relocated to northern Rhodesia, later Zambia, in 1955. He completed school there before taking a building course from the age of 14. He later transferred to technical college but was expelled for political activism in 1960. Image Mr. Mnangagwa, pictured with Mr. Mugabe in 2003, had worked with him for many years. Early career while trying to work as a builder, he joined the party of later Zambian leader Kenneth Kaunda before switching to the Zimbabwe African People's Union ZAPU and then the Zimbabwe African National Union ZANU's political fight. He joined the battle against white minority rule in southern Rhodesia in the early 1960s, receiving military training in Egypt and China in 1963. Convicted as one of the earliest guerrilla fighters against the government of Ian Smith, he was captured in 1965, tortured and convicted of blowing up a train. Jailed as he was judged to be under 21 at the time, he escaped hanging and was jailed for 10 years, alongside other nationalists including Mr. Mugabe. Advanced education. While in jail he undertook correspondence courses and passed O-levels and A-levels, and embarked on a law degree. Released from jail after finishing his law degree and starting to practice, he traveled to Mozambique where he became Robert Mugabe's assistant and bodyguard. Ascent to government in 1979, he accompanied Mr. Mugabe to London for talks on Zimbabwe's future, and became security minister the following year after the country received independence. Cabinet roles. During his time in government, he has held roles as Security Minister 19,801,988, Justice Minister 19,892,000 and 20,132,017, Acting Finance Minister 19,951,996, Speaker of the House 20,002,005 and Defense Minister 20,092,013. Image Mr. Mnangagwa with Mr. Mugabe Center and his wife Grace. In 2016 Vice President, he was appointed as number 2 to Mr. Mugabe in 2014, and remained in the position until he was fired on 6 November 2017. Watch Robert Mugabe End of the Dictator at 7:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Sky News.